The 10F's left headlight illuminates straight up when you turn on the high beams. If you break the left headlight, the right headlight will operate as normal, which tells us that it's only the left headlight with this issue. As for the 10F wide body on the Social Club, it's actually named the 10F Custom, which is odd considering they never call it the 10F Custom anywhere else. And now that we've covered so many of the major classes with one fact for every car, it's time to cover the behemoth that is the sports class. So let's get right into it. The 300R has been added and removed from the game multiple times, being added and removed, and then added again, and then removed again, and it has since been added a third time and is still available. This is the most in and out that a vehicle's ever had in GTA Online. The 8F Drafter had an issue when it first released where its license plate was actually attached to the base of the car and not the trunk. So when this car first came out, if you open the trunk, the plate would float in place. The 9F's badge was originally on its hood instead of on the grille. The 9F Cabrio's description says that it costs an extra $5,000 to the 9F Cabrio, which is close, but it actually costs $10,000 more. The Alpha originally displayed as a benefactor vehicle when entering any of Los Santos Customs or other mod shops around the map, and when wanted by the police scanner. This has since been fixed and correctly says Albany now. The Banshee was added to the game on day one way back in 2013, and Rockstar actually worked with a real-life company to make a real-life version of the Banshee that they used for a giveaway. This vehicle can also briefly be seen in Better Call Saul. The Banshee GTS can be seen in some artwork for the Agents of Sabotage DLC that shows a white version of the GTS Stripes livery without the GTS lettering, which cannot be obtained in-game. The Bestia GTS initially had some incorrect textures on the bottom of its hood, where it will be seen using the same texture as the vehicle's suspension and underside. The Ballista Compact's dual exit exhaust only has one working exhaust pipe, with the other one being completely defunct. The Buffalo has some glitches in Los Santos Customs where you can remove the bumpers and skirts from the regular Buffalo, but this was patched not too long ago. The Buffalo S has a more well-known fact, but if you look inside the vehicle, you'll notice that the floor mats actually have Vapid logos instead of Bravado logos. The Calico GTF was changed before its release, as in the original teaser screenshot for the vehicle, the rear badges were reused from the Astrope, claiming to have a 3.5 V6 four-wheel drive drivetrain, but these badges were changed with its final release. The Carbon Desire didn't originally have any windshield wipers, as in the beta on its first screenshots, there was no wipers on the car. The Comet's trunk and hood options are swapped in the interaction menu in GTA Online, where it labels the front boot as the hood and the rear engine compartment as the trunk, likely a minor oversight from the early days of the game. The Comet Retro Custom features several liveries that are off-center, which can be seen on the hood. In addition, some liveries are unparalleled, where one side of the vehicle is higher up than the other. The Comet S2 can be seen during the Union Depository job, where the bank manager clearly owns a racing blue one with a custom plate, Bossman. On the Comet S2 Cabrio, when you honk the horn, your player's hand will actually travel directly through the steering wheel. The Comet Safari has a very common issue where, when applying window tint, the unusable fog lamps located on the stock bumper will also become tinted. The Comet SR is supposed to be rear-wheel drive, but when rolled over, a driveshaft connecting the rear engine to the front wheels is present without a center differential. The Coquette has a very rare glitch in GTA 5's story mode that prevents any Coquettes from spawning whatsoever. To fix this problem, you just have to replay the mission Mr. Richards and take the parked Coquette there and then fail the mission. On the Coquette D10, when removing the roof in Los Santos Customs, a floating triangular vehicle texture will be visible just above the center armrest. The Coquette D5's fog lights will hover in place if the vehicle's front bumper is loose or removed. Any aftermarket grille option will also hover in place if the vehicle's front bumper is removed. Oh, and this vehicle is still completely bulletproof, for some reason. Corsita is Corsician for lane, emulating the term Corse from the MC20's full name, the Maserati Corse 2020. This is further implied with the Lampadati racing livery featuring the abbreviation LC22 on its roof, likely standing for Lampadati Corsita 2022. The Cypher's rear license plate light is actually connected to the chassis of the vehicle and not the trunk itself, so when you open the trunk you'll still see this light shining on the base of the trunk. The Drift Tampa features a tow hook that actually cuts directly through the car's right turn signal on its front bumper, making it completely null and void. The LG Retro Custom was originally missing its right door handle, which was completely removed from the vehicle. This didn't affect the door's ability to be opened and was fixed with the Cunning Stunts Special Vehicle Circuit update. The LG RH8 has some rear bumper options that will remove the reverse light, but even if the reverse light's been removed with a new bumper modification, the light will still shine when backing up. The Envisage has a weird glitch with its tinted windows. If you shoot one of its tinted windows, the broken glass will continue to be tinted, but if you break the door off of the vehicle and then shoot the glass will then become clear and no longer have a tint even on the undamaged parts. The Euros has multiple transparent hood options, but when these are applied to the vehicle, they will become invisible when the player looks through the windshield, making the engine completely visible from the inside of the car. The Feltzer's front bumper is slightly misshapen on one side. This was fixed shortly after release, but was very visible when the game first came out. The Flash GT is a wonderful off-roader, but if you manage to get it dirty enough, you'll notice that the Flash GT's spoiler will have incorrectly mapped dirt buildup, causing different incorrect textures to apply to the dirt on the spoiler. The Ferrari GT has headlight tint available. When you tint the windows, the headlights will also gain that level of tint. But unlike many other vehicles in the game, you can actually apply the different levels of tint. They won't automatically be applied to the highest level. The Fusillade also has a tinting error where the fog lights will get tinted when you apply the highest level of window tint. The Futo is available when creating a job in the Rockstar Creator, but you'll notice that it's actually in the Sedans class instead of the Sports class, which is a bit of an oversight considering it's never even been considered in the Sedans class. The Futo GTX has an issue that we've seen on a few other vehicles before, where the transparent hood options will actually be invisible when looking through the windshield or other windows of the vehicle. The GB200's front wheels have some caster angle when they're turned. If you look closely when the wheels turn right or left, they actually tilt, giving it a bit of camber. The Go-Go Monkey Ballista has the same issue as its regular counterpart, where the dual exit exhaust upgrade will only have one working exhaust port. The name Growler could easily be another one of Rockstar's sexual jokes, as the word growler is British slang for a woman's unshaven vagina. But it could also be linked to the brand's name, Fister, and Growler being together, which you can kind of put two and two together. As for the Hot Ring vehicles, the Hot Ring Everon has a hole in its hood that I never noticed, but it's also a fake hole because nothing can pass through or fire through it. As for the Hot Ring Sabre, its stock rims can be seen on the Southern San Andreas Super Autos website in chrome, despite the fact that they only come available in a dark gray tone once you purchase the vehicle. Finally, the Hot Ring Hellfire has roof flaps, which actually count as an active spoiler in the game's files, and once these are applied during braking, it actually gives the car the highest downforce in the entire game, though it is only brief and the vehicle slows down very rapidly. The Imorgon's sun strip is actually blended into the glass, as if you shoot the glass, the crack will appear throughout the sun strip as well. Similarly, the covers on the rear panels will actually just cover the glass and not replace them, as you can still see the glass breaking when you fire through them. The Issi Sport comes stock with a massive spoiler, but during the Drug Wars bonuses week, you could obtain a special version of the Issi Sport from the Lucky Wheel, which had no spoiler equipped, making it very unique. Do keep in mind though, if you own this vehicle, do not take it to Los Santos Customs and look at the spoiler options, as just looking at the spoiler options will cause one to automatically become attached to the vehicle. The Italy GTO's police scanner audio references the car as being manufactured by Princip, when it should be Grotti. The Italy RSX can be seen on the Legendary Motorsport website with chrome and alloy rims instead of the blacked out ones that you receive. The Jester, weirdly enough, has Pegassi floor mats. You can see the logo, it's very low quality so you can't make out the words, but it's very clearly the Pegassi logo on the floor mats. The Jester Classic was originally supposed to be added one DLC earlier, but the unreleased original model had many different issues. So they cut the vehicle entirely, fixed it, and released it with the subsequent DLC. The Jester race car's livery was remapped and reused on the Ballista Canjo, with slight things being moved to fit the vehicle better. The Jester RR has some unknown textures when applying drift tuning. The steering wheel, trunk bed, interior roof, and door panels will have an unknown texture applied to them. As for the LSCM Jester RR, unlike its base model, it doesn't have a center brake light, which results in the taillight's illumination to remain unchanged during braking. The Jugular will always be a very dirty vehicle, since it can't go through the car wash. I'm not sure why, but it just doesn't let you. The Chameleon was originally fully electric on the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions, but it became a hybrid electric in the enhanced version, sporting a 2-liter turbo engine under the hood. The Komoda has 3 different bolt-on lip spoilers, and you'll notice that the right struts between the primary and secondary color ones are slightly offset. But it gets even worse if you go to the carbon bolt-on lip spoiler, where those 2 right struts will actually be removed entirely, making the vehicle completely unsymmetrical. The Kuruma's hood can be opened to reveal its engine, but if you flip the vehicle upside down, the entire engine bay will be a hollow section under the car. Due to the armored Kuruma's window design, you can't use throwable weapons from within the vehicle. But if you break off the doors, you still can't use throwable weapons, which doesn't make any sense. The La Cruz has a pulsing light bar on its front grille, and after purchasing this vehicle, it will automatically be set in black or white, which makes it look non-functional. The player is unable to change this color, despite the fact that it's attached to the dial color or accent color, which is disabled on its customization list. So technically Rockstar could give us the option to change the color of this light. The Locust's website description is a clear reference to the Locust's first appearance in Grand Theft Auto London 1969. The Lynx's steering wheel appears to raise and lower when turning the wheel. This is because the steering wheel is actually offset from the driving column and where the player's hands sit. The Massacro has the option to add extra fuel ports, but there's not actually an extra fuel cell in the trunk or back seat, and these go absolutely nowhere. When applying the same modification to the Massacro race car, the same issue appears, but the livery is also mapped incorrectly on the hood scoop and roof scoop, where it'll actually cause duplicates or stretched marks on the livery. The Neo's red abstraction and gold abstraction liveries are based on the Spiker C8 Aileron LM85, which uses the Spiker racing livery. The neon is referenced in an advertisement on Blonded Los Santos 97.8 FM on the radio, but you'll have to listen for a while to actually hear it. So here's the clip instead.
What are you? Thunder? Or lightning? Why make noise when you can be a silent assassin? Pfister announces the fully electric Pfister Neon. Less and more. Nothing says efficiency, discipline, and power like a trunk full of laptop batteries. The Pfister Neon. Electric finally got manly and dangerous.
The Niobe's rear wheels are slightly more tucked in than the front wheels, and this is even more exaggerated once you add the wheel well flares onto the vehicle. The Omnis's fog lights don't move when damaging the bumper. If the bumper is hanging off or falls off entirely, these lights will hover in place. The Omnis EGT's front number plate is floating ahead of the actual bumper, meaning that it's completely disconnected from the car. On top of that, when the suspension is upgraded and slick proximity mines are installed and online, sometimes the proximity mine will actually stick to the rear bumper of the car. The Panther has no engine access. If you open the trunk and the hood at the same time, they're both storage compartments. The engine is actually hidden underneath the rear trunk, becoming completely inaccessible for any maintenance. The Paragon R originally lacked a trim color, meaning that whatever trim color you got on the inside of the vehicle when you purchased it is what you were stuck with. This was fixed with the Diamond Casino Heist update. The Paragon R Armored is usable in passive mode, despite the fact that it can be weaponized, but the user will remain in passive mode. The Paragon S's titanium tip bore exhaust originally didn't appear on the passenger side of the car, although the smoke and backfire effects would still work as intended. This exhaust was added again with the Agents of Sabotage update. The Pariah's front bumper doesn't deform or detach from the vehicle, so no matter how damaged this vehicle might get from running into things, the front bumper will remain where it is and hover in place, while the rest of the engine bay crumples in. The Penumbra's right headlight's innermost light appears to be slightly offset from the physical light itself, as the corona of the light will appear off to the center of the car more, making it look a little funky when you look too closely. The Penumbra FF has a Princess Robot Bubblegum livery, and it's the first one in the entire game that characters Princess Robot Bubblegum and Shiny Wasabi Kitty are featured at the same time on the same livery. The Raiden has some minor clipping problems, with its crew emblem placement being partially clipped through the driver and passenger side doors, and its brake calipers clipping through certain wheel types. The Rapid GT's outline is actually used when looking at any sports cars on the Social Club website, meaning that it has one of the most recognizable outlines of any of the sports cars. The Rapid GT Cabrio's secondary color only affects the seat belts behind the front seats, so regardless of what color you want them to be, when you put the roof down, you'll notice that color only appearing on the seat belts. The Rapid GTX's picture on the Social Club actually depicts a blue Minimus, which is not even close to the same car. The Raptor lacks a lowrider wheel category within Los Santos Customs, so any of those wheel options cannot be placed on this car. When driving the Remus, the camera is positioned farther away than normal. This is to compensate for the larger tall exhausts, even if you don't have them installed. The Revolter's emblems are a bit mixed up. If you look really closely, you can see the Pfister emblem inside the Ubermacht badges. The RT3000 is one of the only vehicles in the entire game that allows you to roll down and roll up the windows. Since this vehicle comes stock as a convertible, if you add a hardtop roof, the convertible feature will still work, but only the windows will roll up and down since you have a hardtop roof. On top of that, the Princess Robot Bubblegum livery features Japanese text that actually translates to Dinka Ballista, which is obviously a different car. The Rustin was originally meant to have liveries. According to its files in game, it was originally meant to have a Ron, Atomic, Zero Gas, and Mindmuck livery, but these were cut for unknown reasons. The S95 has two different liveries that feature a number placard on the roof of the car. These are definitely offset to the driver's side, as you can compare them to the spoiler and inset on the roof itself. The Shafter LWB can only be used in sports races if you have a custom variant, otherwise it won't appear in sports race categories. The Shafter V12 can be used in both sports and sedan races, which is odd because it definitely tops the class for sedan races, but isn't really competitive in the sports class. The Schlagen GT's tachometer needle is wrong, where it starts at the max amount and then goes through empty space until reaching the bottom of the dial. The Schwarzer's trunk slightly clips the body of the vehicle when you open it all the way. The Sentinel Classic has a very odd gear shifter, where reverse gear is actually where the first gear would be, and all the other ones are subsequently misaligned. This is likely a reference to the dogleg manual gearbox that was used in its real-life counterpart. The Sentinel Classic wide body's upswept exhausts incorrectly emit additional fumes and flames upwards where the exhausts point, and straight out where they obviously don't point. The Sentinel GTS's spoilers will always disappear when detached from the vehicle. So when you break the trunk off, the trunk will still act like the spoiler is there, but it will become invisible. The 770's leftmost exhaust pipe, on its stock exhaust, doesn't appear to have exhaust smoke coming out. The SM722 originally had a non-working brake lamp on the carbon lip spoiler, even though it worked on every one of its other lip spoiler options. The Spectre, weirdly enough, has two tachometers. Regardless, only one of them actually work. The Spectre Custom has some unique exhaust options that, if you open the doors, will fire directly through the door itself. The Sprunk Buffalo should be called the Sprunk Buffalo S, since it's based on the Buffalo S model, which also means it still features vapid floor mats, but also has backfire effects, which the normal Buffalo S does not feature. The Stinger TT has some spoiler options that actually cover the taillights a bit. At first I thought this was a weird clipping bug, but as you can see, there's a slight gap and it's completely meant to be that way, even though they wouldn't really be attached very well considering it's separate from the trunk section. The Strider is an abomination, to be honest. It should be in the off-roads class or SUVs or anything but sports class. But when you apply window tint, the rear reflectors will also become tinted, so there's a fact about that. The Segoy is one of the only vehicles in the game to feature analog and digital speedometers, and it's a prime example of why you can't trust the analog speedometers in-game. The Sultan, back on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions of the game, wouldn't allow you to use the camera in hood view while the Sultan had its carbon scoop hood modification applied. The Sultan Classic's rear passenger window is indestructible. Regardless of how many times you shoot it or even if you blow up the vehicle, this glass pane will remain in place. The Sultan RS Classic's last exhaust option appears to be named incorrectly and reuses the name from a previous exhaust mod, though I believe this has been fixed in newer versions of the game. The Serrano has a minor discrepancy between the curved design of its convertible roof and the square corner on its window, where you can see the window initially come down with a slight curve and then jet out to a square point like a normal window would. The Tropos Rally has an issue that honestly should have been fixed a long time ago, where the fog lights are located behind the vehicle. Despite the fog lights being on the hood of the vehicle, the actual light source and coronas for the lights will be a couple feet behind the vehicle. When you open the hood, it'll actually shine this light directly down on the car like a spotlight. On top of that, in the Rockstar editor, the fog lights won't move with the hood despite actually moving with the hood in the game. The VSTR doesn't actually have high beam options. Well, it didn't when it first came out. This was luckily fixed. Vector was one of the 5 names originally proposed for Toyota's luxury vehicle division alongside Alexis, Calibre, Chaparral, and Veyron. The company ultimately chose Alexis but dropped the A and changed the I to a U, thereby creating Lexus. The Verlier's window tint will also apply to the vehicle's headlights and will allow you to apply all 4 levels of tint individually to the car. On top of that, the model name is Verlier 2, indicating that there was another variant of the car originally meant to be in the game. On the Vito Classic, obviously the rear wheels spin and the axle spins, and despite the flywheel spinning, the chain doesn't move with it. The Vito Modern, when damaged enough, will actually cause the frame to push the front wheels off the ground. You could theoretically do the same thing with the rear tires, but typically the engine gives out before you get that much damage. The ZR350 has a bumper modification that removes the fog lights, but even if you remove the fog lights or break off the original bumper, the fog lights will still remain in place and function as per normal, despite not actually being on the car. And finally, the ZR380's Apocalypse variant has a mismatched hood option taken from the JB700. This can also be seen on the Nightmare variant. Unique to the Future Shock variant of the ZR380, the Spirit Wing resembles a large roof-mounted spoiler which can be found on sprint racers. These are typically only used on lightweight, open-wheel racing buggies, despite the ZR380's design not being appropriate for this type of modification. And finally, the ZR380 Nightmare, and also the Apocalypse, both have the saw blade bumper option, and when damaged, this will actually begin to spin off-center and wobble extremely poorly. So there you have it, 113 sports cars with 113 facts, leaving only a couple classes left for us to cover in this series. If you want to see any other classes that I've covered, check out that playlist.